Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from the Corn Productions Deep Dive TV podcast with my co-host Stacie, here to talk about Here Comes Peter Cottontail. And this was a Easter special by Rankin and Bass that appeared in 1971. That's when it first aired.
So happy Easter, everybody.
Yes, and I can't believe that we actually managed to find a time-traveling Easter Rankin and Bass special.
Right? Who knew?
Yeah.
So some background. Neither of us had ever watched this prior to prepping for this podcast. So we did some Rankin and Bass stuff for Christmas, right? And we were like, let's do one of their Easter things, because why not? And who knew? Time travel. That fits our brand perfectly.
Right.
So here we are.
All right. So the movie's description reads as follows. With the help of a time machine, Peter Cottontail must rescue Easter from the hands of the malicious Irontail. Teleplay was based on a book, The Easter Bunny That Overslept, written by Priscilla Friedrich and Otto Friedrich. Story by Thornton Burgess and Romeo Moore, who was also behind the other Rankin and Bass specials that we already covered. Directed by Jules Bass and Arthur Rankin Jr. No introduction there because we've already covered a couple of their things. Before we go further, I'll tell you a couple things. One, this is not a appropriate podcast. If you haven't watched the episode, I recommend you go and check it out, and then come back and give us a listen. Secondly, if you're listening with the platforms that this podcast is now available on, we follow people free to check out our YouTube channel, Corn Productions, where additional content can be discovered. If you're already on our YouTube channel, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel. All right, so Stacie, your thoughts on this week's special?
Okay, so unlike the Rankin and Bass Christmas specials that we have already done, that I had a lot of nostalgia for, childhood memories. Again, this is one I had never seen. So I got to watch one of these super crazy psychedelic holiday specials without the nostalgia factor, right? And I'm not so sure how I feel about this. A lot of weird craziness and a lot of, I'm going, is this really appropriate for children most of the time?
Yeah, I'm watching this, again, without the nostalgia factor that you were just talking about. And I'm wondering, why am I watching this?
Because I told you to.
I mean, that is, when it comes down to, that is the reason.
And then by the time I was done with these notes, I literally said, I hope Dave's not mad at me for making him do this.
Now, at first, I'm starting to watch this thing, and I'm admittedly pretty tired when doing it. And I'm like, and I'm not understanding a lick of what's going on in the beginning. And I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to take notes on this? I don't even know what the hell is going on. As it went along, it became a little bit clearer as to what the actual story was. But at the same time, it has this weird moral about not telling fibs that I don't know how fits into Easter.
Okay, so that's the thing. And as usual, I had the same problem with the other Rankin and Basses.
Yeah.
Where the message that this story is supposed to be giving to kids is not very clear or great, and you can pull out some really messed up messaging.
Yes.
When you go down to it. So here's what I got from this. We have the whole fake it till you make it. They're pushing that.
Okay.
But don't fib.
Right.
Which is a really complicated distinction that they don't really give.
Right.
That I feel would be very confusing to a child hearing both of those messages at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's this whole don't be lazy, don't oversleep, work hard, right?
Yeah.
But they're also at the same time giving us this whole storyline where Antoine's like, yeah, I just slept for the last 4 months, and now I'm a butterfly.
Right.
So that's pretty confusing.
Yes.
Contradictory messages they're sending. I mean, I get that that's a true thing, but it's really weird that they're just putting those two things together.
Right.
And then we have the romance. Our whole Valentine's Day thing. I have a lot of issues with Valentine's Day in this episode.
Right.
Basically, they sing a whole song about how romance has a 24-hour clock on it. And you should love someone today, but not tomorrow.
That is a really weird message.
It was a really messed up message. Listening to the lyrics of this song, I was like, this is what is happening right now in this show. And why are we singing this to children?
I didn't even pick up on that, mostly because I was checked out from the song. I was just like, well, whatever.
You're like, they're singing a song.
Yeah, they sing a song, and that's what I wrote in my notes. And then it's like, yeah, okay, next.
I want you to go back and listen to the Valentine's Day song.
Okay.
Because it's pretty effed up.
Okay.
And then, of course, we have our villain, who doesn't get any redemption. I feel like the story would have meant a lot better if the villain got some redemption at the end.
Right. And also, I guess we'll get into that in a little bit, but yeah. Yeah, I was confused at several points by wait, what is this person doing? Like, okay, we're sending a rocket, but that never really comes back into anything. And then he's making calls to the past. Like, how's he doing that?
The way time works in this,
Yeah.
also, I'm very confused by the timeline.
Yeah, where's the logic here?
It's time travel, but it's not time travel that makes any sense. But I
Right.
think they're like, it's for little kids. They're not going to understand that it doesn't make sense.
Right. Little did they know that, 40-something years later, there would be a podcast on it, picking it to pieces.
As far as the cast, there's only 9 people whose voices we hear. And they all have, of course, like a dozen different parts. And not all of them are listed, because there's a lot of characters in this who aren't on anybody's name.
Yep.
But we have some big names. We've got Danny Kaye.
Yes.
Casey Kasem.
Yep.
Vincent Price.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, the return of Paul Frees, who was in the other 2 Rankin and Bass specials we did as well.
Yep.
And we'll talk more about them as we meet their characters. But again, they each have like a dozen characters, so they're all over the place. Yeah, I'm just very confused by this, and I do not recommend showing this to young children.
Right.
But if you've never seen it before and you want something to laugh at, go for it. It'll be fun.
Okay, so if you want somebody who's looking for something really bad to watch and something to laugh at,
it's probably not really bad. Like, our job is to overanalyze it, and if we weren't looking at it that way, maybe you'd be like, "Oh, that was a cute little kid's cartoon."
Yeah, I guess.
But I mean, it's from 1971.
Right.
So I guess I can't get too mad at the messaging being weird.
Right. Things have changed since then.
Things have changed a lot since then. That's before I was born.
So you're supposed to keep up on Love 24 hours after?
Oh my God, that's just the worst part of it. Go back and watch that song.
Okay.
Everybody, go. I forget what the song's called. I think it was something like, well, it might be in my notes when we get there. But the Valentine's Day song from this movie, go find it and watch it.
So basically,
Seriously.
this special is advocating for hitting it and quitting it, basically?
Exactly.
Okay.
Literally listen to the lyrics of that song.
Okay. So, the special starts with Seymour beginning the story of Peter Cottontail after engaging in a variety of antics. Seymour is played by Danny Kaye, 34 credits for him. His very first is the 1938 movie Dime a Danica. He was also in the Danny Kaye Show, that went on for 123 episodes.
His show.
Yeah, and also an episode of The Cosby Show. He died on March 3rd, 1987.
And he was also in an episode of The Lucy Show as himself. Tons and tons of those type of self-appearances. Right. He was in White Christmas, one of the more famous ones. And in addition to being Sassafras, he is also Antoine the Caterpillar and Colonel Wellington B. Bunny, the head bunny.
Yes. So, we flash back to when Peter Cottontail was young, and we hear the theme as our credits begin.
Oh, and Sassafras, he's a peddler, and what he's doing here is he sells colors. He sells the colors that the bunnies use to paint Easter eggs. So that's his whole role here, who he is, and that's why he's the one telling us the story.
Gotcha. So the story starts with Colonel Easter Bunny Wellington, also voiced by Danny Kaye, looking for his replacement. He happens upon a picture of Peter Cottontail, but his assistant, voiced by Paul Frees, whom we've talked about before, thinks that this is not a good idea. Wellington, though, thinks that Cottontail has spunk, and basically what's brought up here by his assistant is the fact that Cottontail has a tendency to fib a lot, and when he does so, his ear flops.
His ear droops. He has a tell when he lies. So he tells a lot of fibs, and he's not a very hard worker, which is the assistant's arguments against him. And the colonel's just like, well, I see a lot of myself in him. I think he'd be a good Chief Easter Bunny. And Freeze also plays the fireman, the father at Thanksgiving table, and Santa Claus, which is the same role he played in in Frosty the Snowman, he was Santa. In Santa Claus is Coming to Town, he was the Burgermeister Meisterburger, the villain.
Yes.
So different characters, but he's in a lot of Rankin and Bass specials.
Peter is interviewed, and anytime he has to lie, his ear drops. He's played by Casey Kasem, 138 credits for him, including Ghostbusters, 2 episodes of Saved by the Bell, which I do remember him in, and lots of Scooby-Doo.
He is Shaggy.
Yes.
He is the original voice of Shaggy on Scooby-Doo for 40 years or something.
Right.
He did that.
Mm-hmm.
He also had a recurring role in Sesame Street as a bunch of different characters. He's a famous DJ.
Yes.
Casey Kasem. He did the Top 40 show. For me, the thing that's always going to come to my mind first when I hear the name Casey Kasem is that he did the Nick at Night Classic TV Countdown on New Year's.
Ah, okay.
Every New Year's, there was the Classic TV Countdown run by Casey Kasem. You know, Dick Clark had the ball drop, the adult show.
Yep.
No, I shouldn't say it that way. I was going to say the adult show and this was for kids. It wasn't for kids. I was just a kid enjoying Nick at Night. Not really kids programming, though.
Right. No.
But it was the counter show. So on, like, the real news channels, you had Dick Clark doing the ball drop. And then Nick at Night had Casey Kasem doing the Classic TV Countdown. Might have been my favorite night of the year to watch television. I loved watching that show.
All right. We have another song about Easter and a musical montage. But elsewhere, January Q Irontail wants the job that is set to go to Peter Cottontail and plots to take him out.
Yeah, so Irontail is played by none other than the voice of horror himself, Vincent Price.
Yes, 210 credits for him. His first credit was the 1938 film Service de Lux, the 1958 film House on Haunted Hill.
The original House on Haunted Hill.
Which was eventually remade. And he also had an appearance on The Bionic Woman.
He did tons of Poe works. He was in Mask of the Red Death, The Raven, The Pit and the Pendulum, and some other Poe works as well. 4 episodes of the Danny Kaye Show, which I thought was notable since Danny Kaye's in this.
That's maybe how he got involved with this in the first place.
Right, they must have known each other. And he's the narrator on the Thriller music video, of course.
Oh, okay,
one of his more famous things. But so many things. Like, what hasn't Vincent Price been in? You know, if you're looking at classic horror, Vincent Price was involved in it. So he's playing the villain.
Mm-hmm. And he died on October 23rd, 1993 at the age of 82, for the record.
And Irontail, we learned, got his name because when he was a child, a kid ran over his tail with a roller skate and broke it. So he has a fake tail, which is made out of iron.
Mm-hmm.
It's a butt plug.
Oh.
Did you take a peek if you didn't notice?
No, I didn't notice.
His tail is a freaking butt plug, okay? There's no way around that. That's what it is.
Gotcha.
And he's a villain because he's vowing to get revenge on children because he hates children because a kid did this to him. And that's why he wants to be the head Easter Bunny so he can ruin Easter for the children.
Gotcha. All right, so Peter Cottontail is about to be given the job when Irontail arrives with a charter which says that the one who gets the job must deliver the most eggs. Irontail suggests a contest, which Cottontail readily agrees to, and Wellington is not convinced that this is a good idea, but Cottontail says he wants to do it.
Yeah, so whoever distributes the most eggs on Easter, which is the next day, is going to become the new chief Easter Bunny. And wouldn't you know it, they picked 2 really, really bad candidates for this.
Yes.
There's dozens of Easter Bunnies here.
Yep.
Pretty sure somebody else should step up and take this job.
Maybe. But Wellington announces the contest and tells Peter he needs to win. Wellington tells him to get lots of sleep, but Peter doesn't listen to this, and he parties all night. Irontail shows up to screw with Peter's alarm, resulting in Peter not waking up in the morning.
Yeah, his alarm, a rooster.
Yes.
So a rooster wakes him up. Irontail fed him magic corn-flavored bubblegum, which would make all of his cock-a-doodle-doos fly away into bubbles where Peter couldn't hear them. And as a result, Peter slept all day. He missed Easter.
Yes, and Irontail was only able to deliver 1 egg, but since Cottontail delivered none, Irontail won. Irontail institutes a bunch of unpopular changes to Easter, which makes no one happy, including, I don't know, replacing chocolate with rocks or something along those lines.
He sings a song about how he's a terrible ruler and he's going to ruin Easter for everybody. Reminds me of somebody.
Right. Cottontail, feeling like he let everyone down, leaves the valley, April Valley, in disgrace. After passing out from walking too much, the sun wakes him up when Seymour wakes him up because Peter is sleeping on his big toe.
That is sassafras.
Yes. And they are in his garden.
This is where he makes vegetables that make all the pretty colors.
Ooh. Seymour's solution, a time travel machine that will allow him to go back in time and to deliver the eggs like he should. The machine takes off into the sky.
We also meet another character here.
Yep.
He introduces him to Antoine, who's the pilot.
Yep.
Antoine is a caterpillar He is played by, also played by Danny Kaye. So Sassafras and Antoine and Colonel Bunny, those are all Danny Kaye. So yeah, he's a French pilot who is a caterpillar.
Yes.
Which is really weird. He's got some creepy songs too. like what are we watching?
Right.
Peter's shown all the buttons. There are buttons to go into the past and the future, and there's a button for each holiday, which is what this movie's going to focus on, is the holidays. But yeah, so this is where I want to try and keep track of what we're doing. Their plan is to go back to Easter, which was a day or two ago.
Right.
So they want to go a day or two in the past back to Easter so he can redo the contest. That's the plan.
Right. But it does not go very well. So yeah, basically the machine takes off into the sky while Seymour sings, and we see constellations seemingly forever. This goes on forever.
Yeah, this is a song about second chances and basically how today would be better if you had a chance to redo yesterday.
Yes. That's also a super great message.
Right? Because every kid has a time machine. They can just go back and redo yesterday. Let's tell kids that instead of fixing things going forward, they should just go back in time and try again.
I mean, hey, if you can do it, then by all means. Irontail gets wind of this time travel plan and decides to interfere by launching a rocket ship. I don't understand any of this.
So he launches a rocket. In the rocket is some kind of a bug.
Oh, okay.
The bug catches up to the time machine.
Gotcha.
And breaks it. He pulls the wires out from underneath the time machine. He sabotages it.
Somehow I didn't even register any of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of I don't know what's going on happening in this show.
So Peter ends up encountering technical difficulties because of this bug that you were just talking about, and ends up crashing into Mother's Day.
Yeah, they missed Easter, now they're in Mother's Day. So this is where I get really confused. We were traveling backwards to Easter, but now they went forwards in time to Mother's Day. They're in May. And we know it's not the previous Mother's Day because everybody here he encounters remembers how he failed.
Yeah.
And how he let them down by not delivering eggs on Easter. So it's the following Mother's Day. So we're now moving forward in time.
Right.
And we're going to continue to move forward through the holidays on the calendar.
Right.
Until the end where
we end up
in the past.
Right.
Yeah. Years don't exist, apparently, in this version of time travel. Just dates themselves.
Right.
We're just going to cycle around the year and end up back where we started. I'm very confused by that. But, okay, we're in Mother's Day.
And nobody wants Easter eggs, as it turns out. Peter tries again, but ends up on the 4th of July. They make it to the ground. His co-pilot, Antoine's just improvising and does a song about it. This
is where we get the song about improvising, and he's telling him, hey, if people don't want eggs for the 4th of July, you just got to convince them that they do, and you're going to paint them.
Yep.
And it's basically fake it till you make it. They don't use those words, but that's the motto, and, we're all for that.
Yes,
We've cited that motto plenty of times. Nothing wrong with that.
We practice that here, for sure.
We sure do. And this is the weird caterpillar song. During this song, Antoine has a romance with a red-headed caterpillar.
Okay.
Visually, this is what's happening on the screen. He goes and has this little romance with this red-headed caterpillar. She resembles Miss Jessica from Santa Claus is Coming to Town, the one that becomes Mrs. Claus.
Yeah.
Looks just like her, except she's a caterpillar, and they just go off and have a little romance while he's singing about improvising.
Okay.
It's very weird. Why is this what we're watching right now?
Right. And so Peter ends up going along with this plan, repaints some eggs, and encounters a fireman. This is, of course, played by Paul Frees, and some children. Peter tries to sell the eggs as firecrackers.
Well, not to sell it, but give them away. Remember, his job's to give away eggs, but nobody wants them.
Well, I don't mean sell in the.
He tries to sell the idea. Of these eggs, but he's not just improvising; he's fibbing.
Yes. Ooh.
And he tells them that they're not eggs; they're firecrackers, and if you throw them at the ground, they go boom.
Well, of course that's not going to work, because as soon as you try to throw them at the ground and they don't go kaboom, the kids are going to realize they've been had.
Right.
So maybe that's not the correct fake it till you make it. Because, if you promise something, you sort of have to deliver.
Right, and I think that's, the distinction between fake it till you make it and just lie.
Right.
But they, again, don't get very clear on that.
Right.
They're just kind of throwing this shit at you that I don't think a kid's going to understand.
No.
So yeah, he had painted the eggs. We had learned that Sassafras had left on board the I just wanted to call it a spaceship, the time machine, bunch of paints.
Yeah.
so that he can paint the eggs, and a chest full of costumes. And Sassafras, who's, narrating the story, gives this line like, I didn't exactly know this was going to happen. Kind of like insinuating that he planned all of this to happen to teach Peter a lesson.
Okay.
But I don't feel like the lesson gets taught.
No. So, basically, he ends up getting pelted by his own eggs, and his co-pilot gives him crap for lying. They end up falling again, and they end up landing in Halloween. Peter thinks he'll be the Halloween bunny. And Irontail manages to call the past. Like, I don't know how.
So, yeah, I don't know if this was, like, the future Irontail, the one that's actually living in Halloween.
Who knows that Peter Cottontail is now in Halloween and is calling Esmeralda.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Irontail.
The problem here is that the time traveling mechanics are not properly explained.
Right, they're really not. Irontail, yeah, so he calls Esmeralda. She's a witch. She's played by Joan Gardner. And she also plays Bonnie and the shopkeeper, who we'll both meet a little later. Yep. She was Tanta Kringle in Santa Claus is Coming to Town, so we've talked about her before. She did a bunch of Mr. Magoo stuff. She was in the Jetsons. So another returning person here. So
the witch shows up to Peter, laughing, and he seems more amused than scared. And she ends up giving her age as 379. More shenanigans ensue, and Peter's eggs are stolen.
Okay, so basically what happens is Peter offers her an egg. She was sent by Irontail to stop Peter.
Right.
To scare him away. But he offered her an egg, and she was so touched that he wanted to give her a gift that she was happy to take it. So she took the egg, and then she goes to talk to all the other witches and weirdos and ghosts, and they all want Halloween eggs now. He was successful. Halloween eggs is a thing. Everybody wants one. But Irontail sent a bat named Montesor to steal the eggs, so he couldn't give them to the witches and ghosts.
Okay, so a chase ensues. Peter catches the eggs as the bat drops them. Peter wants to go back to Halloween, but no such luck. There's no chance of going backwards, though. Weren't we explained that you could go backwards?
Yeah, but it's broken?
Oh,
Antoine doesn't really know what he's doing. They're just kind of
winging
haplessly flying through time.
So they end up in the unloved Thanksgiving, and that's my take on it, because nobody seems to love Thanksgiving. It's forgotten.
So they're in Thanksgiving, and you would think Thanksgiving would be a good time to give away food, but they've landed after everybody has eaten.
Oops. Nobody wants the eggs because they're all full.
They're all full.
Christmas is next. They see Santa Claus, of course, once again played by Paul Frees.
Santa Claus, yes, Paul Frees is Santa.
Okay. They say hello. Peter has a new idea, trying to be the Santa Bunny, but no one is on the streets because, everybody is...
because they've already done with their shopping and they're home celebrating Christmas.
Peter encounters a crying person who turns out to be Bonnie Bonnet because no one wants her.
Yeah, nobody wants to buy an Easter bonnet on Christmas, so she is in the store window. She's very sad. Again, Bonnie is also played by Joan Gardner. And Peter knows her because Easter bonnets are made in April Valley. He remembers her. So he goes in and talks to the shop owner, who is also played by Joan Gardner. And he says he wants to buy Bonnie and lies that he has money, but he doesn't.
Right.
But eventually they make a deal that he's going to give her all of these beautiful Christmas eggs in exchange for Bonnie. And the shopkeeper thinks they're beautiful and she's all on board and she wants them.
But, unfortunately, Irontail steals the eggs. Irontail escapes and says he will hide the eggs where he will never find them again and laughs evilly. And into the time machine he goes...
Peter and Bonnie.
But he forgets his co-pilot. Peter can't go back.
They just leave Antoine behind.
Yes.
And he's screaming like, wait for me.
Right.
Oops, so here's another bad lesson. Just leave your friend behind. He'll be fine.
Yeah. By the way, they keep doing this really irritating thing that I specifically remember in this whole Irontail thing where he laughs evilly and says you'll never find these eggs, where, it basically goes to commercial. It doesn't really, because, we don't cut the commercial.
Because we're watching through Amazon Prime.
When we come back, we're repeating the same line.
Yeah,
and then repeating it again.
So every time there's a commercial
Yeah.
break,
Yeah.
a spot that they meant there
Yeah.
to be a commercial break, Sassafras comes back and reminds the little kids, because they have a very short attention span, of the last line that was said.
Right.
So yeah, every 5 minutes we're going back and reviewing where we're at.
Right, and it's kind of irritating
Yeah.
to watch now, but yeah. So we've left Antoine behind. Peter can't go back for him as he chases.
Because he has no idea how to fly. He
Right.
has even less idea than Antoine did how to fly this thing.
Yeah. So Santa ends up getting the eggs back and tries to stop in New Year's Eve, but can't stop the machine. Bonnie points out the stop button and ends up in Valentine's Day. So he turns them into Valentine's Day eggs, and he ends up falling in love with a bunny and getting a Valentine and leaving the eggs unprotected.
He gives her a Valentine.
Right.
He gives her an egg for
Yeah.
Valentine's Day. She's super excited to get it. This is Donna,
Yep.
his 24-hour love interest.
Okay.
She's played by Iris Rainier. She's a writer. She was actually the writer of Beaches.
Okay.
And she was a writer on the Sonny and Cher show. As an actress, she was in Rudolph's Shiny New Year as well. So all of the animals are having a Valentine's Day ice skating party.
Yes.
And they present this like it's a perfectly normal thing that, of course, you're ice skating on Valentine's Day.
I mean, that's a perfectly romantic thing to do.
But they're acting like this is a tradition. You know, the Valentine's ice skating party is a thing.
Gotcha.
So he kind of is like, I don't care about the eggs. He's doing the thing again where he's not worrying about his task at hand, his job, which is to try and give away the eggs. He gave one to her. But instead of giving the rest of them out, he's like, well, let's just leave them here. Let's go ice skating.
Yes.
So Peter and Donna go ice skating, and this is where we have this song. Where it's literally a song saying, love me, but just for today, for 24 hours, and not tomorrow. Like, these lyrics are literally said over and over again.
Wow.
That we're just in love for today only.
Now, is that their situation, or is that what they are suggesting should be the case for everyone?
They're singing about it. Like, this is the love song that they're singing.
Ah, okay.
I don't know. It's very strange.
Ah,
Okay. So, like, the whole time they're just, like, ice skating and whatever, and then he's gonna leave. But, like, why are we singing about this? Why are these the words to the romantic Valentine's Day song?
I don't know, because somebody wasn't really thinking.
It wasn't like, we're going to be separated tomorrow, so let's live for today, and I hope I'll see you again in the future. It was very like, just today, but not tomorrow.
Right.
Ha ha ha.
Okay.
While they're skating, Irontail comes along. He uses an evil spell to turn the eggs green.
Ah, yes.
And not just paint them, but they are green through and through.
Mm-hmm.
The yolks are green. And I meant to look up when was the story Green Eggs and Ham come out. I think that was earlier than this.
I'm sure it was.
So I feel like
Dr.
they kind of...
Seuss, that was like
the
30s, maybe even 40s.
It was before this.
Yeah.
For sure, probably. But I didn't actually look it up.
Right.
But I feel like they're definitely borrowing from that because we've got green eggs.
Right.
Green through and through. Because no one wants a green egg, a green Valentine's egg. And Donna even gives hers back, crying in sadness. She doesn't want that Valentine anymore because it was ruined. It's green. You know, their 24-hour romance ran its course.
I guess so.
She gave back the egg.
I mean, that's how it happens.
And so he still has not given away any eggs.
So Peter ends up running out of holidays and thinks it's his fault.
They go to President's Day.
Yeah, which, what happens on President's Day? Anything?
So he goes to a door and he's dressed up like George Washington.
Oh.
And he's like, these are President's Day eggs because they look like limes because George Washington chopped down a lime tree, which he didn't. It was a cherry tree. And the woman at the door was not happy about him lying.
Right.
So he's continuing to lie to try to give away eggs.
Yeah, I missed that entire part, probably because I basically checked out at that point. So he says, that it's his fault that he can't give away any eggs. He shouldn't have told so many fibs. And then we see Peter giving out eggs in a montage throughout the holidays.
So this is him. So he's talking with Bonnie, and this is him realizing if he hadn't fibbed so much, if he had it, improvised like Antoine had advised, he wouldn't have had any problems giving away eggs. So he is imagining, he's thinking about all of these holidays he's visited. What would have happened if he had just tried giving away normal Easter eggs without all the shtick? And in his imagination, everybody would have taken his eggs and loved them. But it's the fact that he kept lying and fibbing and trying to pretend he was something he wasn't is why he couldn't give them away.
Well, that message gets very lost in the shuffle.
It does.
In my mind.
Especially since we sang a whole song about, improvise and fake it till you make it.
I mean, I didn't get that message, and I doubt, any kids would either. I would like to think that I'm more savvy than maybe the 5-year-olds this is directed at. But yeah, so Peter ends up saying he promises if he can deliver his eggs, he will never tell a fib again. And he ends up realizing, oh wait, I have green eggs, and we're about to land on St. Patrick's Day. And here we go. We have
because nobody could see that coming once we painted the eggs green.
Right.
Also in here, Sassafras sang another song about the puzzle of life. I'm not sure what that song was meant to do.
And this somehow helps him win the contest. I don't know how.
Yeah, how does this contest work exactly?
Right.
We're in the future by a year almost, or we're in the past by a year almost.
Right.
I'm confused again by how time travel works, but because he gave away the eggs on St. Patrick's Day, he's announced the winner. So, Colonel Bunny announces him the winner. Yeah. Is it last year now?
Right.
Before Iron Tail took over?
I'm assuming. So even if he somehow ends up in Easter past, how does giving away eggs on St. Patrick's Day help him?
Because that was before the contest was even announced.
Right. How does that help him?
I don't know, but that's the rules.
Oh, okay. Whatever. Yep, everyone is happy. Cue music montage and ends.
The Colonel points him the head Easter bunny. So Easter morning, he sets out to deliver the actual eggs. We hear the actual song, Here Comes Peter Cottontail, at this point. And we see him reunite with Donna. So they do end up, having another little thing.
Oh, for only 24 hours, though.
Well, maybe. Another 24 hours.
Yeah.
Because, they were very clear last time. That's all they wanted.
Right.
We see the family for Mother's Day, and they give her the bonnet. So Bonnie the bonnet has a new home.
Yay.
We see the boys from the 4th of July, the witch, Santa's there. Everybody's there on Easter, which is weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally we see Antoine, who says ever since he left him on Christmas, so for 4 months now, he's been asleep, and he is now turned into this beautiful butterfly. Aww. And he literally says, yeah, all I needed to do was sleep for a few months, and now I feel great.
Yay.
Which is, again, a very weird contradictory message to the whole thing that was, Peter's whole problem was because he overslept one day.
Right.
That's what ruined all this, is because he overslept. So everybody's happy, and here's our happy ending.
Yeah.
And then we see Iron Tail, and he's a trash man now, cleaning up the mess.
Oh, good.
And he doesn't get any redemption. Sad for him. I think it would have been a much better story if Iron Tail found some reason not to hate children.
Yes.
And not to want to seek revenge against them.
But I guess not. Is there a sequel to this where Iron Tail comes back and tries to
I don't know
else?
if Iron Tail appears anywhere else. That would require some research. I think it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah.
Let's see our cast. We talked about all of them. We had 2 actors doing additional voices. We had Greg Thomas. Now, Greg Thomas, we've already talked about. He was a child in both child voice in Frosty the Snowman and Santa Claus is Coming to Town. He has 7 total acting credits, so we've now covered about half of his filmography just by covering the 3 Rankin and Bass specials.
So kind of like Jamie Maguire.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's Greg Thomas. There was also Jeff Thomas, who I don't know if that's related to Greg or not. He was not in any of the other Rankin and Bass specials, though.
Interesting.
Jeff Thomas also did additional voices. He was in War of the Roses, Kingpin, and he was Andy Kaufman's stand-in in the movie Man in the Moon.
Okay.
Or he was the stand-in of
for Jim Carrey.
Right. The stand-in of Andy Kaufman's character.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
And then we had one uncredited voice actor who is listed as being the voice of Ghost, Skeleton, and Elf. And I'm thinking all those parts maybe got cut because I don't remember any of them speaking, and maybe that's why he's uncredited.
I mean, I wouldn't be able to tell you because I was only half watching, but, even attempting to take notes.
That was Thurl Ravenscroft.
Yeah.
He played Kirby in The Brave Little Toaster and all of its sequels.
Oh,
he was in
another reason to cover the Brave Little Toaster movie.
He was in several Disney films, including Pocahontas, The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, and Aladdin. As well as, we must have already mentioned him before, too, because he played a bunch of animals in Frosty the Snowman.
Okay.
So, a lot of names we've already talked about, but only 9 people altogether.
Yeah, it was a pretty small cast.
But, again, a lot of the characters aren't listed specifically.
Right.
So I don't know who voiced them. Now, these two were additional voices, but those are both men. And I noticed a lot of females that we didn't have an actual listing for, like the mother.
Right.
The mother's name Mother. She's not listed in these credits. I don't know. Did one of these two additional males voice her?
Maybe.
Or was it Iris Rainier or Joan Gardner, but they didn't add that to the list? Or, or was there some other voices who just never got credit? Who knows? Because they did that in, was it Frosty?
Yes.
People didn't get credit till like 40 years later or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that was the silly time travel
Yes.
Easter special that we have brought for you guys. And I'm very, very curious if anybody listening to us right now, is anybody listening to us right now? Did you ever watch this special?
Right.
Somebody had to have watched it. I know I never heard of it before. I certainly hadn't ever watched it.
I recommend if you're going to watch this as a adult that perhaps you indulge in some illicit substances before watching, and maybe that will enhance your enjoyment of this.
It is very 70s visually.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of like, what am I looking at right now?
Yes.
On top of the craziness in all these lyrics. If nothing else, just go look up the music from this special and just listen to those and watch those clips, because it's like, what in the heck is this?
Right.
Why are we doing this?
It doesn't feel like a lot of thought was actually put into this.
And all in all, for this being an Easter special, there's a very little Easter involved.
I'm just kind of curious, is there a reason why lies would be associated with Easter? I mean, like, why is that attached to an Easter special?
I don't know.
Right. Maybe they just didn't have a clue what to actually do for Easter, but they wanted to do something.
Rankin and Bass does have other Easter specials as well.
Yeah.
But I wanted to cover this one because I saw it was time travel.
Right.
So it fit our brand pretty good.
Yeah.
I haven't watched any of their other Easter specials.
Sci-fi time travel Rankin and Bass Easter special.
Yeah, there you go. It was
perfect. Also happens to cover almost all the other holidays as well.
It does. It wrapped around most of the holidays in the year, including President's Day.
Yeah, and St. Patrick's Day, which we did not manage to find something for.
We didn't manage to do anything for St. Patrick's Day this year.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
We can't hit them all.
No. All right. Do we have anything else to say before concluding?
I'm just, like I said, I'm really curious if anybody's actually ever seen this and what anybody thinks of it. If they do have nostalgia for this, you know what I mean? Like, that we don't. Like, does anybody feel any love for Here Comes Peter Cottontail? So curious.
If you do, drop a comment. We'll shout you out somewhere. I'm not
I don't know where.
Right. I mean, I guess the next video that we end up doing after, I guess. All right. Well, we'd like to hear from you. What'd you think of this podcast? What'd you think of this Easter special? Do you have any love for it? Stacie can be reached at.
I can be reached on Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at TV and Coupon Talk.
If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can follow me on Blue Sky. You can join the Core Productions membership for 99 cents a month. You can buy me a coffee. You can join the Core... I just said that. And, of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video, as well as subscribe to the channel. This is Dave and Stacie from Core Productions, signing off.